So it's a process that is becoming all too familiar. Following the release of Fulton County DA Fani Willis's bombshell 41-count indictment, Donald Trump, like clockwork, took his failed social media site to rail against the charges and once again cast himself as the victim of an unrelenting political witch hunt. Now it's language that we have heard before, but when it comes to this specific case, Trump's insistence on playing the victim card is actually downright insulting, because despite what the twice impeached and now quadruple indicted ex-president wants you to believe, he is not the victim here. In the days, weeks, and months following his election loss, Trump and his allies employed a desperate scheme to hold on to power with no consideration for the innocent people that they took down along the way. Of course, there's Georgia's Republican Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, who earned the ex-president's ire after he refused to help Trump and his allies find enough votes to win the election. Raffensperger would soon find his commitment to democracy and the rule of law basically came with a steep cost. His wife, Tricia Raffensperger, told Reuters how the threats and intimidation from Trump's supporters forced her family into hiding for almost a week in late November. The harassment continued for months, often in the form of threatening text messages, including this text that Raffensperger told Reuters she received in April 2021, reading, quote, "We plan for the death of you and your family every day." There's, of course, Gabriel Sterling. Back in December of 2020, he is the Republican senior election official who held that emotional press conference at the state capitol in which he recounted the death threats and abuse he and others had endured in the weeks since the election. Sterling even called out then President Trump directly and cautioned what could happen if the violent rhetoric continued.
Someone's going to get hurt, someone's going to get shot, someone's going to get killed.
But perhaps no two people bore the brunt of Trump's big lie in Georgia more than these two, Ruby Freeman and Shaye Moss. In the days after the election, the mother-daughter duo, both Atlanta election workers, found themselves at the center of one of the most persistent conspiracies spread by Trump and his allies. Using selectively edited video, Trump and Rudy Giuliani claimed that Freeman and Moss committed voter fraud by pulling out fraudulent ballots from a suitcase on election night. Giuliani also said Freeman and Moss were passing USB drives containing votes, quote, like vials of heroin or cocaine during ballot counting operations. Trump even referred to the two women more than a dozen times during his now infamous call with Raffensperger, falsely calling Freeman a, quote, professional vote scammer and a hustler. And despite Georgia election officials immediately debunking these outrageous claims, the lies spread and spread and spread on conservative media like wildfire. Now, last year, Freeman and Moss testified before the January 6th committee, and they shared how the ex-president's dangerous disinformation campaign nearly destroyed their lives. Watch.
It's turned my life upside down. I no longer give out my business card. I don't transfer calls. I don't want anyone knowing my name. I don't want to go anywhere with my mom because she might yell my name out over the grocery aisle or something. There is nowhere I feel safe. Nowhere. Do you know how it feels to have the President of the United States to target you? The President of the United States is supposed to represent every American. Not to target one, but he targeted me, Lady Ruby, a small business owner, a mother, a proud American citizen who stand up to help Fulton County run an election in the middle of the pandemic.
Now, unlike Brad Raffensperger and Gabriel Sterling, officers of the state, Ruby Freeman and Shaye Moss didn't ask for this national spotlight. They didn't run for public office. They didn't take on high-profile positions that came with resources and security. They simply volunteered, just as thousands of ordinary Americans do every election cycle, to help their fellow citizens at the polls and do the work that keeps our democracy functioning year after year. And what thanks did they get from their president? A months-long harassment campaign led by the most powerful man in the world. Unfortunately, it seems accountability is on the horizon for Freeman and Moss, because last month, Rudy Giuliani was forced to admit in a court filing that he made false statements about the duo manipulating ballots. And now a significant part of this week's indictment focuses on that harassment campaign that targeted them. The indictment charges Trump and others with repeatedly and falsely accusing Freeman of committing election fraud, with some going as far as traveling from out of state to Freeman's home to intimidate her and solicit her to falsely confess to election crimes that she did not commit. Freeman's place in that indictment serves as a reminder of the human toll of Trump's lies. Far too often, when we talk about the ex-president's election interference, we center one victim: democracy. Yes, that is important to acknowledge the damage that Trump did to our democracy, and it continues to do to our institutions. But we cannot let the real people he harmed along the way fall through the cracks. As the Fulton County indictment lays out in black and white, the ex-president's alleged crimes were not victimless. Donald Trump's big lie has now changed the lives of everyday people like Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman, and it's been changed forever. They deserve accountability. They deserve justice. And they deserve to know that in America, no one, not even a former president, is above the law.